Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I am the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. And I have to say, it's like, I feel like I haven't talked about disc golf in weeks because we had no Elite Series event this weekend. We didn't really have any big tournament this weekend. And so, Josh, we get a little bit of a breather, and I think the pros needed it. You know, Ricky's like posting from Mexico. He's like having drinks and ceviche and whatever. And, people needed a break after all of these tournaments in a row. And I think I did too. How about you?
Oh, without a doubt. It really was nice to just watch some basketball, watch some hockey, and get some other sports and just not have to worry about what my take was going to be on the Reacts show after the game was over.
But it makes me excited to get back to the disc golf, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like, that's the thing, right? It refreshes you.
Right.
Now, I want to find the quick email here. And this is from Andrew. I just think it's topical right now. Here's my take, says Andrew. I'm getting sick and tired of professional disc golfers complaining about tournaments being held every weekend. Why are purses and contracts going up in dollar value? Because there is value to me as a consumer. I spend my hard-earned money on a DGN subscription, an Upshot subscription, and Patreon for 3 different podcasts because I want to be entertained. I want to watch disc golf every weekend, and I am not going to lie, I feel entitled to it. I love it, Andrew. Speak, Andrew. First world problem, I know, but let's compare it to other mainstream sports. Let's look at baseball, 162 games a year with a 3-month off season. This works out to roughly 162 games in 275 days, which during the season is 113 days off with no game. Some of those 113 days off are going to be travel days, but the others that are not travel days are not just off days. Players don't just get to sit around unless they are pitchers who are lazy. Yes. They have workouts, etc. And, not every game is going to be great, but I want to have the entertainment on a regular basis. I know I am in the minority, says Andrew, and enjoyed watching the DDO, but I liked it because to me, it seems like it was more of a mental tournament, if that makes sense. My point is, if you're getting paid top dollar and you want people to keep paying, then we expect to be entertained, and that happens when tournaments are on. I feel like the pros want top dollar and have super high expectations of the tournaments that they play and will blast any tournament that doesn't meet those expectations on social media, but then whine when the consumers expect not to have to find something to do for 3 weeks because there is no disc golf on TV. Am I being whiny? Yes, and I know it. But it is my dollars going towards their salaries, buying their discs, and supporting their sponsors. Do I expect them to play every tournament? No, they can't. Their bodies will not survive. I guess what I want is for them to take tournaments off and not complain about it. So, thoughts, Josh?
It's a good take. Like, I'm actually, I don't hate it. I think the point, and I think what it highlights is that we're at an interesting dichotomy where you have very diverse player kind of portfolios is the way to put it, I guess. You're right. Like, should the guys who are making 7-figure contracts every year be complaining about the fact that there's too much golf? Probably not. That's honestly a fair point. Because the sport is still one that is built around people who either A, are, just, and this, Ricky and Paul and all them, they're still driving in vans. They still have 12, 14 hours of drive time in between tournaments that they have to turn around and get ready for. But it's a sport that is still built around people who are living out of vans on minimal salaries, and making cash is critical to them being able to get, to the next week. And that depends on having lots of tournaments available. And so that's a fair point, that we need that kind of tournament, both for the fan experience, but also for a majority of the player experience. I think the one thing I would say that becomes difficult is for the players who are kind of like Jen Allen, for example. I mean, Jen Allen still holds a full-time job while she's a touring professional. That those are people. We just have such a diverse group of folks who are playing professional disc golf at this point. It's hard to build a tour that is both representative of the majority, but as well is designed around a world in which players are making top dollar. And how do you? It's a hard balance to strike, but yeah, good on you, Andrew. I like the take.
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
Of like, am I being whiny? Yes. Am I entitled? Yes, I am. But on the other hand, like I started thinking about it, and I was thinking about other professional sports, and it's true. Like in other professional sports, regardless of the sport, football, hockey, baseball, soccer, whatever, every weekend during their season, there is content. There are games. And of course, in many sports, there are games during the week as well. I mean, basically in all of them, right?
Except football.
Well, football has Thursday night games, Josh.
And they do, but they only
Monday
have one
games.
A week guaranteed.
I understand. But
I see what you're saying.
Obviously, football, there's just really no option. Like, even already, like, Thursday is too much because these people are going into war every week. You know, they need time to recover. There's just not really an option. Right. But, I mean, it is kind of true. Like, the pros do whine a little bit. Like, they do. And it makes sense why the Pro Tour wants to go this way. And I know, and like, I feel like I'm contradicting myself a little bit from what I've said in the past, where it's like, after a major, I need a break. Well, maybe I need a break, but does the tour need a break? Because like, there are fans out there like Andrew who want to watch every single weekend and tune into the live every weekend. I mean, I once asked, like, who watches all of the live coverage? And like, people emailed him, were like, I pretty much watch all of it. Like, I may not be fully paying attention to it at all times, but I've got it on in the background when I'm like hanging out with my kids on the weekdays. And like, you know, I'll have it on my phone if I'm out playing around. And like, yeah, like this is an entertainment product for the fans. Players complaining because they have to play a bunch of tournaments in a row. Like there's two solutions, right? One is to increase the number of tournaments in order to make it easier to skip stuff, or decrease the number of tournaments and so that everybody plays pretty much everything. And it makes sense from the DGPT standpoint to say to yourself, we want to sell subscriptions to DGN. The best way to do that is to have DGN content happening every weekend.
Yep.
It makes sense.
It does.
Now let's look at the PGA Tour schedule, okay? Because this is the professional golf tournament tour that we can look to as a baseline. So keep in mind, the 2022 season starts in the fall. Now remember, the Pro Tour is experimenting with that this year with a couple Silver Series events after the Pro Tour Championship that will count towards the 2023 tour. So they play starting September 16th of 2021. They play 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight weekends. They take Thanksgiving week off. Then they play 2 tournaments in December. And then they take a break for the holidays. Then they're back in January. And it looks like they pretty much play every single weekend. I mean, there's some weekends where there's 2 tournaments happening at the same time. When do they take their next break? Maybe there is no break. I'm like scrolling the list. Tournament. 9th or 12th. Like they essentially play every weekend except for the major holidays in the winter. And then the tour wraps up at the Tour Championship at the end of August. I guess then, you know, there's a couple weeks off, and then the following tournament, like the following season's tournaments, begin a couple weeks later in September. So there you go. Literally every weekend you can watch golf. Except on Christmas, but like who wants to watch a golf tournament on Christmas? Some people out there do.
Right. I think you're right. I think part of the reason we have been so inclined to say, oh, well, we kind of want less, is because, like we've talked about how there's kind of the mix of sport, mix in the sport of terms of the demographics of who plays, so is true of disc golf media. You have the Disc Golf Pro Tour and Jomez that do this full time, but Charlie, you run an Ulti World for Ultimate and follow club and college Ultimate. I work jobs as well that are outside of disc golf. I wish disc golf was just my full-time livelihood, but it's not. And so you and I also are like trying to create content while at the same time balancing other parts of things that are not disc golf in our lives. And I think that's something that's just in the growing pains of the sport, where you have the desire and the demand for content, but you also have professionals and content creators alike who also are not doing this full time. And so it's an interesting balance that people have to strike in a world where you have a growing sport. And while we have not given fair consideration, I think that there are some really legitimate arguments as to why the solution to growing pains is just to grow faster and get to the point where it's, sustainable to do an entertainment product that delivers on the weekly.
It's an interesting concept. I mean, I think it's also a challenge for the Pro Tour, because not only do you have to worry about making sure that your staff are able to work through it. The PGA Tour has however many staff, right? And they're selling big contracts out to these, NBC and CBS and whoever to come in and do the golf. So they're not like doing the media. Like the Pro Tour is doing all of it itself. And can you really have it happening every single weekend with your current staffing? Like probably not. People will just not survive it. It's just too much to have to work every single weekend. But it's a solvable problem if you staff up, if you give people like weekend only jobs where they only work for tournaments and then they're not like on the payroll during Monday to Friday. Or, whatever it is, Monday to Wednesday, I guess. But I do think it's an interesting idea. It would require the tour to probably like reduce the standards a little bit of like what it means to be a Pro Tour event. Can they really maintain the level of, Elite Series Pro Tour event every weekend? That maybe eventually, but that's a challenge to get to that.
Yeah.
So something curious to follow along, but Andrew's point is well taken. As a fan, and it's true, right? These players are not getting these big dollar contracts because they're good at disc golf. Like this is some kind of team, deal in the NFL, right? That's not what this is. They're getting this dollars because there's a lot of amateur players who look up to them and buy their discs. Simple.
Yep.
Simple. This is a business decision from the manufacturers. And that means that the fans should feel like they deserve to be entertained. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on. We're catching up on something that we brought up, 6 weeks ago or something. We've had such a long stretch of tournaments that we haven't really had time to stop and smell the roses at all. But we asked people to email in with ideas for segments, thoughts on the show, and mentioned that we were going to be doing a subscription giveaway. And we're going to do that today. So we've got 5 names picked out, and we're going to share those with you in just a moment. But first, Josh, I just want to say what an amazing audience we have. So many great emails. Like it literally took like many hours of time to just go through the emails, read the emails, digest ideas. And we have so many cool new segment concepts, some of which we're going to debut today, others of which we're going to debut in the future. And just lots of really great feedback for the show. And so thank you to everybody who emailed in. We really appreciate it. Josh, what were your general takeaways from what we got in our emails?
I would just have to say that there are a lot of people who are really thoughtful about kind of the way they want to see narratives built around the Disc Golf Pro Tour and kind of the depth of those narratives. I think one of the fair points is that whether it be courses, whether it be players, whether it be tournaments, people want to see a little bit more behind the scenes and really appreciate that look. And there were different segment ideas of how we get there. But I think that was a really general theme is how do we get more depth, not just breadth, and kind of expand our view then of the sport. And I think that was something that I really appreciated seeing and getting some perspective on, of kind of the interest level. And that's because that's something that we're always trying to match, right? You can, it's easy to get too niche, to get into the weeds a little too much, and people feel like it's not relevant, but it feels like people really do want to try and get a broader and deeper view of the sport. And that was something that I really appreciated seeing from those emails.
Absolutely. And I think, we got a lot of really good, both positive and negative feedback about, the way we set up segments on the show, the kind of the quality of the way the podcast is put together every week, I guess. And there's some stuff in there that I already know that we should be doing, and we're going to take steps to do soon in terms of the way we introduce segments and, audio quality things. So we appreciate that. Never hesitate to email us with your thoughts, upshot@ultiworld.com. And so, yeah, a couple segments we're going to do today that we're going to introduce today, and one that I'll share that we're going to start doing immediately before Elite Series events. Today, we're going to introduce the Rookie Report, where we pick 2 rookies from both MPO and FPO, and we follow their season. Now, we're not going to do this every single week, but we'll check in once a month or so on how they're doing, where they stand in the PDGA Rookie of the Year race, what we've seen from them during the season. So we'll do that in a little bit. And that idea came from, was that from Joel?
That was from Joel. Yep.
All right. Joel Proshin, thank you for the email and the idea. We are also going to do a segment called Devil's Advocate, where one of us has a take and the other person has to argue against the take. So we both argue for, one of us for, one of us against the idea. And obviously we do stuff like that on the show on a regular basis, but we don't always disagree. So in this case, we're forced to disagree. So that should be fun. We'll do that in a little bit here on the show. And Josh, tell us about the fantasy segment we'll be doing before Elite Series events.
Yeah, there were a couple people that wrote in on this. Frank is one of them. And, I think Frank put it best in his email. Frank wants to see kind of like a fantasy player check. And right now, there isn't really a standard, this is how fantasy is done. But fantasy disc golf is increasing. And at the very least, it kind of gives you an update on players. So we're going to be doing a fantasy check-in before tournaments that kind of track where players' injury statuses are, if people aren't playing, who they are, kind of refreshing on that. And then also going for value picks of the week. Let's say you have Eagle McMahon on your fantasy team and he's out for a while. We're going to give you then some value replacements that you can pull that would be in the short term. Maybe with its salary cap version, you're limited in terms of how much you'd have available and where you can find some value. Also kind of opportunities for your grip 6, pick 6, just trying to help you out on the fantasy side for those of you who participate in that. And as it grows, I think the segment will grow in popularity too.
Yeah. And I mean, this is just a stopgap until we can bet on disc golf futures on DraftKings. I mean, that's really where we're at here. But it'll be fun. And so, availability, generally we'll do this on Thursdays, but if there's 4-round tournaments, we'll do it on Tuesdays. And so that should be a fun way to kind of keep track of what's going on, who you don't want to put in your lineup because they're not going to play, or who might not play. So it's like a risk to have them in your lineup. So hopefully you will enjoy that as well. So here we go. Time to name our winners. I want to say thanks again to everybody. Some of these were selected at random. Some of these were selected based on having a particularly good email. And so everybody, thank you for your emails. And your winners are Kevin Kennedy, Riley Lanier, Emily Yale, Stuart McCrory, and Frank Garcia. Frank gets the Lifetime Achievement Award for emailing. So congratulations to the 5 of you. You'll get an email with your 1-year Ultiworld Disc Golf subscription. We hope you'll join us in our Discord, which is just fantastic. It's better every day. Great conversations around disc golf topics in general, and of course around tournaments. We do our live shows in Discord after Elite Series events just for subscribers. and a whole lot more. Lots of other benefits, of course, bonus segments every week here on the Upshot, and Cashline newsletter, exclusive articles. And so hope you get to enjoy those benefits. If you didn't win, sorry. We hope you consider getting a subscription of your own. It's less than $4 a month or $40 a year. discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. All right, Josh, let's dig into the rookie report. 2 players, MPO, 2 players, FPO. They have to be eligible rookies. And that really limits the pool. I will say that right off the top. But I think we've got a couple good names here. Where do you want to start?
Let's start over an MPO. Sorry. One, I think we talked a little bit about him last year, but this was for Amateur World Championships. We're going to start with Evan Scott. Evan Scott is from Duncan, South Carolina. I'm pulling this from his UDisc page, so this is information you can find. He's sponsored by Discraft. His PDGA number, I'm pretty sure Evan is a teenager based on, playing in Junior Worlds. He has a PDGA number significantly lower than mine still. He's currently 1,008 rated as of the most recent updating. He jumped up 3 points. This is continuing to increase. And, Evan Scott plays in a lot of tournaments. We do see him on the Pro Tour, and we're seeing him at some of the big events, but he plays every tournament in between as well. And so Evan Scott really is on the grind. Last year in 2021, he did still play in the Amateur World Championships. He took first in the 2021 Amateur World Championships, and then took 7th in the United States Amateur Disc Golf Championship. So,
and if you're really tuned in, you'll probably remember Evan Scott because he was on the feature live card during the first round of the USDGC and kind of put down a round.
Mm-hmm.
And he outshot James Conrad, Chris Dickerson, and Mason Ford on his card. And like, this kid is really, really special. Like, he's been clearly going to be a great disc golfer since like age 14. He qualified for USDGC as a 16-year-old. I think he got in on Monday qualifying in 2020 when he was 15.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he is the real deal. And we'll see, what his ceiling could be. Where is he at so far? So, first of all, he's tied in the PDGA Rookie of the Year race with Zach Hine and Micah Groth, who's going to be our other spotlight rookie. So far this season, it's been up and down. He's played 2 Elite Series events, Waco and Texas States. He finished 70th and 61st, did not cash in either. He did just finish 3rd place at an A tier in April behind Isaac Robinson and Jake Mon. So that was in South Carolina. He was 64th at the PDGA Champions Cup, and he'll be at a bunch of other tournaments coming up this season. Currently number 79 in the PDGA Tour rankings. So, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do this season.
Yeah.
How about Micah Groth?
Micah Groth, also from South Carolina, sponsored by Discraft. Micah Groth has a finish this year. I mean, we've talked a little bit about Evan Scott. Evan Scott was one definitely looking kind of at the potential last year. You see, he's a great disc golfer. We know he's going to be doing well. Micah Groth, though, has some tournament results from this season that I think we really got to pay attention to. Micah Groth is 10-10 rated, so a little bit higher than Evan Scott. He also, though, has a 3rd place finish at Throw Down the Mountain from this year, finishing only behind Paul Macbeth and Calvin Heimberg, but beating out the likes of Thomas Gilbert, Alex Russell, lots of players. I mean, players that we recognize. He had a great finish, takes home almost $1,200 in cash from that tournament, and shot a 10.26 and 10.42 rated rounds at those tournaments. So, that is a finish for a rookie that, I mean, is very, very notable and quite an exciting finish.
I don't know what they're feeding the teenagers down there in South Carolina, but it's working.
It really is.
He also cashed at Texas State's, finished 50th. He was 51st at the Champions Cup. And he'll also be playing a number of upcoming DGPT events. And he's signed up for Worlds. He also won the National Amateur Disc Golf Championships in 2021. So, he's kind of your classic, like, really, really talented youth player coming up and getting ready to start making a splash on tour. And so those are your two MPO rookies. We will keep an eye on them all season long and keep you posted about how they're doing in the Rookie of the Year race. So over on the FPO side, we're going to follow along with Aria Castrita, the young Texan, somebody that you may know the name, Melody, her sister, also a very good disc golfer. And Aria is currently 920 rated. She's got 15 career wins, $4,500 in career earnings, and she's been out at a bunch of Elite Series events so far this year. She finished in the cash, 14th place at LVC. She was 17th at Texas State's. Didn't cash, but was still a strong performance at the PDGA Champions Cup, finishing 22nd. And currently leading the FPO Rookie of the Year race in the PDGA standings, although, of course, it's very early. So we'll see what Aria Castrita can do this season.
Well, what's crazy about Aria is that last year she won the PDGA Junior World Disc Golf Championships in the 15 and under division, and she was 35 strokes clear of the field.
Hello.
So 31 strokes clear of the field. Another young teenager and playing great so far while she's on the Pro Tour. So yeah, Aria's definitely one to watch.
She finished second in the Junior World's putting competition. She finished first in the skill shot competition. So still incredibly young.
Yeah,
like
incredibly
insane
young
talent. The Texas pipeline into elite FPO disc golf is very real.
Yes, it is. Our other FPO rookie watch is on Julie Mowens. Julie is out of Canada and is sponsored by Castoplast. Turned pro just last year. And, Julie is not on full-time tour right now, unlike our other three rookies. I think part of that is definitely explained by the fact she's from Canada. And so access geography-wise is not quite as easy. She's 928 rated and, has a 14th place finish at the Las Vegas Challenge, cashing there. And then has played in 3 other local tournaments, winning all 3 of them this year in Open. She's one to watch for future, could be on tour full time next year. Maybe not this year, going to see her on as much, but she does have some tournaments coming up.
Yeah, she'll be playing Portland Open, Ledgestone, Canadian National Championships. I don't know if she's going to end up signing up for Worlds or whatnot, but a very interesting player to watch. She's another ultimate Frisbee convert. And I think, the profile isn't quite the same because they don't have the same kind of game, but very similar to me to Ella Hansen, where you have somebody who's a good ultimate player who is making the transition to disc golf and seeing a lot of success. And we saw Ella kind of not really go on full-time tour last year, and then boom, now this year she's all in. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something similar from Julie. I don't know what her background is as a professional in like her day-to-day job, but that's going to be something to watch for because definitely talented enough to be out there on tour, and somebody we'll be keeping an eye on this season in our rookie report.
Well, Charlie, something that's exciting. Last year, she took second at the Amateur Disc Golf World Championships to Allie Smith, only 1 stroke back. And back then, last year, she was 883 rated. And she is now 928.
Booming upwards right now.
Booming.
Yeah.
I mean, someone who not only, if we're just talking about access to tour, but has just in 1 year skyrocketed. So she's definitely someone we're going to be keeping our eye on throughout the season and hopefully into next year too.
So that is our rookie report, and we will check in with them throughout the season. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to run down the A-tier results from the weekend, and we're going to play a little devil's advocate. Don't go anywhere. It's the Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. And you know what? If you want to get the custom pack that you envision in your mind's eye, the pack of your dreams, you can do it at any time. Go to pounddiscgolf.com and you can get your custom Octothor, your custom Octahall, your custom Carlton, your custom Toolbox, and their custom pack builders are now open all the time. No more waiting for drops or hoping that you get lucky. You can just go build your pack. You can tinker with it for a while before you hit the order button, but you can check it all out on their website and you can just design it exactly how you want, from the zippers to the main flap to the bottom of the pack, exactly what you envision. pounddiscgolf.com. Welcome back to the Upshot. So it wasn't a big DGPT tournament weekend, but of course there was still plenty of disc golf happening around the country and the world. So we're going to run down the A-tier results from the weekend, and we'll start with the big events that had notable pro players in the field. And why don't we begin, Josh, with the challenge at Goat Hill? Pretty interesting results out in California. Alden Harris getting a one-stroke win over Luke Sampson in MPO, and Owen Scoggins beating out Jen Allen by 3 strokes. So a really nice win for Alden Harris, who continues to trend in the right direction.
Yeah, and the challenge at Goat Hill featured Drew Gibson and Anthony Barella. I mean, it's been a previous Silver Series in the past, and so it's well attended, especially for an A tier. So this is a nice win for Alden Harris, and like you said, trending the right direction. I was actually watching this one on Sunday. Keep an eye on the FPO scores because Jen Allen and Owen Scoggins went into the final round tied, and I just thought it's so fun that Owen Scoggins is able to take it to Jen Allen on what is a bomber course.
It is a power course,
proving that Owen does her game better than anybody else, and she can take that and just win with it anywhere. So it's really exciting for Owen.
Coverage of that tournament over on Central Coast Disc Golf. The 303 Open took place in Colorado. This one's over on Gatekeeper Media. Kyle Klein wins by 4 strokes over Joel Freeman, and Rebecca Cox beats out Deanne Carey and Sammy Joe Guerrero by 4 strokes. Kyle Klein shot a 1086 rated first round. Now, winning a random A tier, Kyle Klein, normally, who cares? Kyle Klein has really struggled this season to start his tournament strong. He's had a lot of poor rounds in round 1. I think it is very, very encouraging to see him come out and beat a good field in Colorado at the 303 Open. And, is this the start of the turnaround for Kyle Klein's season?
I sure hope so. It is encouraging to see. I think Kyle Klein was in the lead for most of the tournament, and it's nice to see. This is one that, just based on ratings alone, Kyle Klein should have won handedly, and so it's good to see him kind of take that down and take care of business. It's something you talk about in regular sports, in other sports all the time. Regular sports, something you talk about in other sports, not disc golf, all the time, is that you have to, the hallmark of a good team is stepping up in the big moments and then taking care of business when you really should. And so good for Kyle Klein to make sure to do that. I think it is a good way to start the turnaround for his season.
And then out in Helsinki, there was a Prodigy Disc Pro Tour tournament. And over in FPO, Heidi Lane wins by a stroke. Not a lot of the top European female players in attendance. And then, interesting, in MPO, Nicholas Antila loses by a stroke to the 10-11 rated Christian Quoksa. So shout out to Christian for getting the win over arguably the best player in Europe at the first PDPT event of the year.
Yeah, not much to say there, but it's exciting. And I think it just shows the depth of talent in Europe that we don't even get to fully see because not everyone's able to come over on tour. And I'm excited for a stretch where we're going to have a lot of American players over in Europe and we get to kind of see these guys featured at their home courses and the US players are playing up against them there.
In other A-tier news, Robert Burridge and Sandy Hendel win the Lower Peninsula Open. Nick Carl and Elaine King win the Loco Open. Tyler Horn and Macy Vela Diaz win the Lexington Open. Henrik Hagman and Sophie Bjorlicke, I tried, win the Helsingborg tournament over in Sweden. And the City of Mobile Championships in Alabama. Amelia Marshall wins in FPO, and you know it, Matt Oram wins in MPO. So that is our A-tier report from the weekend. And it's time to play a little devil's advocate. Josh, I know you got a take for me. Hit me with it.
I do. And this is one that we had an email, a couple emails that talked a little bit about the West Coast swing and some different takes on it. And this year, the West Coast swing has a really interesting balance between the Silver Series and the Elite Series events. We're about to come into 4 West Coast tournaments that are going to start this coming weekend with Masters at De La Viega. And then we're going to have and finish out the stretch with the OTB Open. You have then Beaver State Fling and the Portland Open as kind of the tournament over on that West Coast swing. So Charlie, my take for you is I think that the Silver Series events are better than the Elite Series events on the docket for the West Coast swing this year.
Okay, so you're saying that Masters Cup and Beaver State Fling are better than OTB Open and Portland Open.
Correct. And now for those maybe a little bit newer to the sport, Masters Cup and Beaver State Fling both have previously been national tour events.
Like
they've had some
legend national tour event, like every year national tour events.
When COVID happened, you had the national tour cancellation, and then last year you had some weather concerns that really did damage to the Beaver State Milo MacGyver Park, and the Beaver State Fling ended up being canceled due to course damage, as well as uncertain COVID restrictions. And so they have really suffered in the past couple of years in terms of the ability just to host them. And now with the collapsing of the tours, these 2 events are brought to us on Silver Series events. There has been interest expressed in trying to get these events as to Elite Series events, but one of the biggest concerns is the ability to do live coverage. Cell service at De La, as well as Milo MacGyver, is not ideal, and it's not conducive for live disc golf, nor really spectators, and that's been one of the biggest concerns. So, Charlie, what are your thoughts?
Well, this is the Devil's Advocate segment, so regardless of my actual deeply held beliefs, I'm going to argue for why you're wrong.
Okay.
And so here's the thing. Look, I think we can all appreciate what those tournaments are. Masters Cup, Beaver State Fling. They're great. I mean, particularly the Milo course, well-loved, Philobatros, like many memories, Portland Worlds. It's a special course. I'll give you that. However, Josh, the OTB Open and the Portland Open represent the new wave of elite disc golf tournaments. And Masters Cup and Beaver State Fling are stuck in the past. And so, look, you can tell me all you want about how OTB's course is, it's too open, it's too this, too that. If you're actually being honest, right? Remember, last year when the OTB Open sort of debuted, and I know it was previously San Francisco Open, and they moved it to Stockton, California. They built a whole new course.
Yep.
And you know what? This is the course, really, that kicked off, we're going to make a really long, hard course. Like, this was the first one to do that. This was it. And then we saw other tournaments try to kind of match this. But, like, they actually took this property, this golf course property, and they made it into a disc golf course. And it was hard, and it was long, and it was demanding. And the thing is, even as we saw, sure, some players complain. That's because they don't throw far enough, okay? But this is a test of the player's ability to shape lines and throw far. It's not just wide open LVC, okay? It's not just hyzer fest. It's not. You have to shape lines. You have to throw right to left. You have to be able to throw rollers. You have to be able to have control onto little peninsula greens that has water all around. And frankly, it's a very interesting tournament to watch as far as golf courses go. Not only that, but the tournament is run in an extremely professional fashion. They've been pushing the boundaries in terms of making it an event to go out and spectate. And like they're kicking things off with the concert series this year at OTB. Mm-hmm. So to me, this is the standard that is being set for what an elite tournament looks like. Now you can debate me on whether the course is your favorite or not, but the fact is it's not just about that. It's about all of the other amenities. It's about how you treat the spectators. And this tournament, led by Sean Jack, has been at the forefront of delivering on those parts of the experience. Guess what? Masters Cup, Beaver State Fling, absolutely not. Okay? The Masters Cup, De La Viaga, it is a relic. Okay? It is a relic. It is, sure, it's historic. Great. Well, the fairways cross. You're going to get decapitated walking to your disc. It's insane. Like there's 24 holes. I don't even know how many holes there are. They just make new holes up sometimes. I don't want to see that. I want 18 good holes. Now, sure, they can make updates. They can get better. I would like to see it. I appreciate the historic nature of the course. But this is a course designed for players of the past. It is not designed for players of today. And as a result, it suffers a little bit from those things. Beaver State Fling, I mean, we haven't even seen this tournament in so long. Like, all it has is a course. That's it. That's all it's got. Okay? Portland Open, they've renting out facilities. There's people you can come out and watch, and you can have cell coverage, and you can enjoy the experience. And let's be honest, it was they had to scramble to pull together a course in like 3 weeks or something last year, and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to be improved. Yes, it's going to be improved. And we're going to see that tournament continue to take steps forward as they probably go to a 2-2 4-day style event. Beaver State Fling, again, it's a little bit of a relic. And so give me the OTB Open and the Portland Open any day of the week, Josh.
You know, Charlie, I think you make an impassionate and compelling argument about the way that OTB and Portland have kind of structured around the future of disc golf. Here's what I want to make my argument for, though, against you here. I remember at OTB when you made the over-under and said nobody would shoot double-digit scores at OTB Open. And then Eagle promptly shot a 13 in round 1 and just embarrassed you. Because remember, the Am Day came in at like 1,000 rated, like 3 over par or something.
I do remember that.
And you're like, oh, just no chance. There's no way.
Look, that was the genesis of me never betting against pros shooting double digits under par.
I think you did it again, though. I think you did it 2 or 3 more times.
I think I maybe did.
Before you finally learned your lesson. Here's the problem. Eagle comes out and takes our what you call relics, and you know, and you have Simon, and you have guys who can throw further than ever before. And we said, wow, our courses aren't properly designed for that distance. We need to eagle-proof our courses. You know what happens when you eagle or tiger-proof courses by stretching them out? You make it so that Eagle wins them both. That's what happened. Eagle comes in and wins both OTB and Portland because he throws further than everybody else. Now, don't get me wrong. Portland had some drama at the end. I'll give you that. It was exciting at the end. But I don't want to see our solution to, wow, pros can throw further, let's continue to stretch it, be the trend of here's how we solve for disc golf design moving forward. And I think that that's a dangerous trend to take, where we say, well, the relics just aren't designed for today's game. Let's stretch it out to 13, 12, 11,000 feet and continue to pull it out, because we have the preserve that does that. And now we added OTB and Portland, and you have Vegas that isn't particularly long, but does have the bomber feel to it and continues to grow. Here's my argument about why you need the relics, though. You're right that Portland and OTB have the best amenities and are going to continue that professional, clean look. But courses like MacGyver And tournaments like Masters Cup, because remember back, I think it was 2017, when it was Matt Bell and Paul Macbeth and Ricky Wysocki, and they are playing in a torrential downpour and just trying to keep their discs on the ridges of the holes that are De La and trying to prevent the rollaways and the root kicks. And they're just doing everything they can to slog through this round. I remember that because I still go back and watch the post-produced from Beaver State Flings and from Masters Cups from 5-6 years ago, even when live disc golf is an option. You know why? Because those are exciting and compelling rounds to watch. And sometimes the Roller Olympics aren't. And that brings new people into the sport. It captivates them. Watching Philo's Albatross and seeing that clip and watching the way a disc can fly through Milo MacGyver shows the potential of flight of disc golf. It shows the most exciting moments of puring just that are very easy to visualize lines. That's one of the big things about OTB in Portland. If you land 100 feet left, you're out of position at Portland, but that's super hard to visualize for both live or post-produced coverage. Whereas Milo, it's very easy to see. De La, it's very easy to see, and it's very receptive. That kick now puts him out of position. He can't even see the green. He overturned his disc. He's not going to be able to beat the corner. He's got to pitch out. Those are easy to visualize lines and golf in a way that appeals to, I think, a large variety. Not the diehards who are looking for specifically here's what I need. I need the amenities. I need to make sure the spectator lines are nice and that there's the features of the Pro Tour that you're looking for, Charlie. I think the 90% who are watching Joe Mez, who are watching post-produce, which, can I just say, what a shame that these courses aren't going to be on Joe Mez this year. The majority of people who are watching post-produce still, that draw in the new audience and get people excited about professional disc golf, are Silver Series this year. And I think that is a tragedy.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's edition of The Upshot. We'll be back with you on Thursday. And of course, our interview series continues tomorrow on Wednesday. The Masters Cup is coming up this weekend. We'll talk about it on Thursday right here on The Upshot.